I'm Alexandra Konyarts, live in Tustin, where a fire has destroyed a historic local landmark. We'll have the latest.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
As protests over the Israeli-Hamas war continue here in Southern California, authorities are investigating the death of an elderly Jewish man as a possible hate crime. We have details.
And it's Election Day. Will a Santa Ana council member be recalled? That story, your weather, sports, and much more just ahead on Chapman News.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Good afternoon and welcome to Chapman News. I'm Emily Cho.
And I'm Kate Worsham. We start with breaking news, a massive fire at the former Tustin Air Base. Firefighters continue to battle the fire, which has heavily damaged a historic landmark.
The fire started overnight. Chapman News reporter Alexandra Konyarts joins us live now in Tustin with the latest.
That's right, Kate and Emily. Now, the massive fire at the North Blimp hangar started early this morning. The historic landmark was built 81 years ago during World War II. Now, the Orange County Fire Authority says that the best way to deal with the fire is to actually let the building collapse, which, as you can see right behind me, has already happened to a majority of the roof on the building. This will allow for crews to go in and fight the fire more efficiently. OCFA reports that the fire started around 1:30 a.m. More than 70 firefighters have been working tirelessly to contain the fire. The hangar is a former Tustin Air Base and significant part of Orange County's military history. The hangar is 17 stories high, more than 1,000 feet long, and 300 feet wide. According to the city, it is one of the largest wooden structures ever built. The hangar has also been featured in films such as The X-Files and Pearl Harbor. It housed 12 blimps during World War II. For residents such as Thomas Rubio, the news this morning was devastating.
I've been able to go inside the hangars a few times, so it's pretty surreal knowing that probably won't be able to go, especially in this one, go inside of them anymore. I just hope they do something to save the south hangar, because that one's still good, so hopefully they can.
As of now, it remains unclear how the fire started. No injuries have been reported, and the south hangar remains intact. OCFA Fire Chief Brian Fennessy says that it is a sad day for the city. He says that it is unclear how long the fire will last, that it could be several hours or even go into the coming days. OCFA urges all residents to keep their windows closed and to stay away from the area. Officials are currently investigating what has caused this devastating fire. This is Alexandra Konyarts reporting live. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Alex. Moving on to news from Gaza. Israel's prime minister says that Israel will govern Gaza for an indefinite period of time after the end of the war. In an ABC News interview, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Gaza should be governed by, quote, those who don't want to continue the way of Hamas. This comes as the Palestinian Ministry of Health says over 10,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war began. Calls for a ceasefire have grown as the war reaches its first month. But the UN Security Council failed to reach a consensus on a resolution to halt the conflict on Monday. The United Nations Secretary General made it clear that a ceasefire is necessary to address the humanitarian crisis.
The unfolding catastrophe makes the need for a humanitarian ceasefire more urgent with every passing hour.
The sentiment echoes demonstrations that continue to be held across the nation, with many calling for a ceasefire. Authorities today are investigating the death of a 69-year-old Jewish man who died after a confrontation at dueling pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian rallies this weekend in Thousand Oaks. The Ventura County Sheriff's Department says Paul Kessler was hit in the head and fell backwards, hitting his head again on the concrete. He died of his injuries at a local hospital. The incident is now reportedly being investigated as a homicide and possible hate crime. Meanwhile, rallies and protests continue here in Southern California.
Genocide! Genocide! Stop the genocide! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
This demonstration took place in Anaheim on Saturday. Supporters waved Palestinian flags and signs protesting ongoing Israeli attacks in Gaza. Following speeches, the demonstrators marched around Anaheim and then drove to Los Angeles, where they protested on Grand Avenue. Many in attendance are adamant in their belief that the U.S. government must increase pressure on Israel for a ceasefire. Israel has said a ceasefire must be tied to the release of more than 200 Israeli hostages still being held by Hamas.
It's Election Day, and here in Orange County, voters in Santa Ana are deciding whether to recall a city council member. The recall of council member Jessie Lopez is backed by the Santa Ana Police Union. Lopez says she's being targeted because she did not support a raise for the police department. She says the city cannot afford it. The OC Registrar of Voters has raised concerns about the election's validity, claiming the wrong map was used to obtain signatures to get the recall on the ballot. According to the registrar, signatures for the recall were collected within the redrawn 2022 boundary lines for the district Lopez represents. However, Lopez was elected in 2020 under previous boundary lines. Under this guideline, the recall effort fell 230 votes short. Despite the concern, City Council members were deadlocked last week in a vote to call off the election. That means the special election is moving forward as planned. Voting in the recall is now open and ends next Tuesday.
The 2024 presidential election is less than a year away now, and a new poll is raising concern for some Democratic leaders. According to a New York Times Siena College poll, former President Trump leads President Biden in 5 critical states. Voters said they trust Trump over Biden on issues such as the economy and foreign policy. In the key swing state of Nevada, Trump is leading by a 10-point margin. The poll also shows both candidates are deeply unpopular. But voters who believe the nation is on the wrong track are taking their frustrations out on the sitting president. Some political observers say it's still too early to jump to any conclusions about the eventual outcome of the race, and that there's still plenty of time for President Biden to turn around the poll numbers.
The California Faculty Association is meeting today with the Cal State Board of Trustees in hopes of reaching an agreement and avoiding a faculty walkout on Cal State campuses. One group, Campus Maintenance Workers, has already announced they plan to strike next Tuesday. Last week, the union, which represents 29,000 CSU employees, voted to approve a strike if their demands are not met. They are asking for higher salaries, smaller class sizes, and better working conditions. A CSU spokesperson told KTLA in a statement, the CSU remains committed to the collective bargaining process and reaching a negotiated agreement with the CFA as we have done with 5 of our other employee unions in recent weeks. Negotiations will continue as both the faculty and board look to prevent further strikes. Former President Trump's daughter Ivanka is expected to testify tomorrow in his civil fraud trial. Trump took the stand yesterday and used his time to attack the prosecutor and the judge. He called them names and complained that the trial is unfair. In response, the judge who Trump has sparred with before threatened to remove him from the courtroom if his answers were not more concise. In the past, the former president has called the string of trials against him a political witch hunt.
These are political operatives that I'm going to be dealing with right now. You have a racist attorney general who made some terrible statements.
This case is different from his others as Trump is facing a civil trial and has no jury. This means that the judge will determine the final outcome.
Recess is no longer an option for California schools. Governor Gavin Newsom recently signed a new law that requires all California students from kindergarten to 8th grade receive a mandatory 30-minute recess break. For early dismissal days, students must get at least 15 minutes of recess. Also, educators can no longer hold students in from a recess break as a form of punishment unless there are extenuating circumstances. Also in California schools, cursive writing is making a comeback. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill that will require cursive writing be taught in 1st through 6th grade. Educators say that it's important for students to know cursive writing because it helps with motor skills and forges a connection between words and memory. The return of cursive writing requirement comes over a decade after it was phased out of most California schools.
I'm Luis Avila. Let's take a look at current weather headlines today. As you can see, forecasters are predicting a strong El Nino event happening this winter. Also, record-breaking temperatures will be felt across the country this week. And I'll have your local weather forecast coming up after the break.
I'll be seeing you And all of our favorite places with laughter and warm embraces all day through.
I love you too.
With free COVID-19 vaccines, sunnier days are ahead. Visit getvaccineanswers.org.
I'll be seeing you.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Noche de Altares is an important family and cultural event for Latino and Hispanic families here in Orange County. Chapman News reporter Sofia Costa has more.
The streets of Santa Ana lit up Saturday evening, showcasing Mexican culture. Traditional dances dating back to pre-Spanish colonization and the Aztec era were performed along the street. Performers danced a traditional indigenous ritual that calls ancestral spirits to give blessings.
Nosotros pues es como poder dar una bendición con pues como un rezo, porque al dar nuestra danza para nosotros es un rezo, es como una ofrenda y pues eso indica que todo se va a bendecir todo Santana, ¿verdad?
This was the 21st year anniversary of being able to celebrate Noche de Altares. According to the U.S. Census, 76% of people in Santa Ana are Latino and are Hispanic. For many, being able to celebrate Dia de los Muertos in the United States is a way to show pride in their heritage away from home.
Es muy importante que hagamos recalcar que somos aparte de esta cultura. Estados Unidos es una nación donde es cosmopolita, donde tenemos diferentes culturas y diferentes razas y no nos identificamos nada más por un color, sino por una sola sangre.
While many honored the lives of their ancestors, some honored the lives of those who recently passed. Some honored those lives lost due to tragedy or violence. Patricia Martinez's son was killed a year ago.
I never imagined putting my son there, so it was very hard. My friends convinced me to do it, and I did it, and it's something very beautiful. I don't have much knowledge on it, but I'm trying to learn from it now that my son's not here, so it's a beautiful tradition.
Many were additionally honoring the lives of those lost in Acapulco after the destruction of Hurricane Otis. Reporting for Chapman News, I'm Sofia Costa.
Chapman University's mariachi group performs both on campus and in the community. Recently, there was a special performance, and Chapman News reporter Mariana Caseta has the story.
There was an important guest at a recent Chapman Mariachi Panteras concert. 69-year-old university alumna Marie Dahlstrom was the very first Latina student to attend Chapman back in 1975. The Chapman Mariachi dedicated a song in her honor for the role she played in integrating Chapman.
Thank you very much for paving the way for the Latin community here at Chapman University. All of us here present today, alum and everyone that's a member of Mariachi Panteras is eternally grateful to your family for paving the road for us to be here and for us to bring mariachi to the Salmon Recital Hall. So thank you very much for everything.
Times have certainly changed since Marie was a student here. She recalls the time when she was the only Latina amongst her peers.
And that was lonely, being a commuter student, and I didn't see other brown students like me. And it was a different experience. And so to know Professor Tammy Yee and what the work she has done to build community and to build the Mariachi Panteras to what it is today, and it's expanding.
Dr. Tammy Yee, the director of Mariachi Panteras, has worked hard to make this group the most accessible ensemble on campus. Auditions are not required and any major is welcome. Each concert is free to the public. The purpose of the group is to build community and celebrate an important aspect of Hispanic culture.
That was Chapman News reporter Mariana Quesada reporting. She is also a member of the mariachi group.
A federal judge has overturned an injunction banning gun sales at the OC Fairgrounds. Fairground operators can now resume scheduling gun shows. U.S. District Judge John W. Holcomb issued his decision last week and said that while gun control is important, he can't justify prohibiting the sale of certain firearms at gun shows while those same guns can still be bought at retail stores.
The former dean of the Chapman Law School, John Eastman, continues to insist he did nothing wrong by advising former President Trump to try and delay the certification of the presidential election on January 6, 2021. Eastman was interviewed this weekend on CBS 60 Minutes. He has falsely contended that Vice President Mike Pence had the authority to delay the certification of the 2020 election. Eastman, along with Trump and 17 others, have been charged in connection with their efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. Eastman, who was forced to retire from Chapman, contends he and others are being unfairly and illegally targeted.
I think what we're seeing now in the criminalization of political opposition and the threat to shutting down speech of opposing political views means that the people are no longer in charge of the direction of their government.
Eastman is currently fighting disembarkment in California.
Beachgoers in Southern California can now go back in time thanks to a special restoration project here in Orange County. Chapman News reporter Kevin Barr takes a look.
California is known around the world for its beaches, the best of which are right here in Southern California. Situated between Newport and Laguna Beach is Crystal Cove State Park, known for its beautiful beach, diverse wildlife, and historic beach cottages. The Crystal Cove Conservancy is a nonprofit that works in tandem with the Crystal Cove State Park to fund and restore these historic landmarks.
17 years ago, the Crystal Cove Alliance was formed in order to raise funds to rebuild these cottages and put them back into the kind of quintessential California lifestyle of the late 50s and early 60s.
The Conservancy recently reached its goal of raising $50 million to fund the restoration of the last 17 beach cottages. 8 of them are nearing completion, and I got to take a look inside. They were restored to look exactly how they would when they were constructed. The one shown here is cottage number 4A, and how it looked before they got to work restoring it. Now this is 4A, or better known by its nickname, the Captain's Quarters, and how it looks today ready to open. While many features of the cottages are original, contemporary concerns of climate change meant they had to be physically raised to make sure they could be preserved forever.
Each of these cottages had to be lifted to account for the next 50 years of sea rise, and so all the cottages we're in are now sitting about 4 feet higher than they were previously as well. So it took a little bit of engineering and construction to get things started, but now that they're started, we're on a pretty good roll.
The Conservancy has previously restored a number of beach cottages for years, which are located on the south side of Crystal Cove. Bookings are handled by the state park system, and they're notoriously difficult to get. Barrow said you'd better be ready at your computer at 8 a.m. with your credit cards and hope you win the lottery. One woman was at Crystal Cove waiting to be taken to her cottage and told me this was her second trip, and it took her a few weeks to get a booking, but it was all worth it.
You feel like you won, and it's just so gorgeous here.
This lottery.
Yeah, the second time we've been here, and
Crystal Cove.
Beautiful weather this time too. Thank you, sir.
The cottages range in price and style. Some are dorm-style rooms with shared common areas that start at $40 per night. Others, like cottage number 7, are private. Private bookings cost up to $350 per night and can fit a range of people from 4 all the way up to 10. The Conservancy is in its third phase of the project, where they plan to open an additional 17 cottages, the first 8 of which will be opened by November. Reporting for Chapman News, I'm Kevin Barr.
Kate, it's been feeling pretty warm for autumn, hasn't it?
It really has, but I'm hoping Luis will tell us there's some cooler weather in our future. Luis?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but things aren't looking that way. Good afternoon, everybody. First, forecasters are predicting an El Niño winter this year. I'll explain. El Niño refers to the warming of the Pacific Ocean's surface. This releases more heat into the atmosphere, increasing global temperatures and moisture in the air. This natural phenomenon occurs every 2 to 7 years. Now the northern U.S. is expected to be warmer than usual, while the south wetter. Overall, less snow and extreme cold outbreaks are predicted. Here in California, however, officials are urging residents to prepare for possible flooding in the coming months. This is a major concern as some Californians are still recovering from last winter's round of heavy weather. But first, before we get there, let's go ahead and take a look at current conditions outside right now. As you can see, there is Dodge College where our studio is located. 70 degrees and partly cloudy outside. Very comfortable, but don't get too comfortable because things are about to change later this week. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at our national forecast. Starting off in the West Coast, our friends in San Francisco, 65 degrees and clear skies. Up in Seattle, seeing some rain today with a high of 51. Down in Vegas, I'm betting temperatures to reach 75 degrees and clear skies. Phoenix, one of the warmest areas in the country today, reaching just below 90 degrees. Denver, 74 and clear. Moving on to the Midwest, we have Minneapolis at a chilly 46 degrees, cloudy skies. In Chicago, we have 57 degrees, partly cloudy. Now moving on to the south, temperatures mostly in the low 80s. We have 84 in Houston, 80 in Atlanta, and 83 in Miami. And finally, moving up to the northeast, we have 76 in Washington, D.C., and 67 in the Big Apple. Now, I mentioned record-breaking temperatures this week across the country from Arizona to New York. Let's take a closer look at that. Here we have Denver with an average temperature around this time of year of 57, but as I mentioned, 74 today. But take a look at tomorrow. Major drop in temperatures, hitting just 51 degrees. That's pretty incredible, really. And now moving on to St. Louis, similarly, 60-degree average around this time of year, but tomorrow they'll be hitting a warm 83 degrees. And again, that more than 20-degree drop the following day at 61 degrees. Now let's bring it back here locally to our local OC forecast. Mostly, as you can see, upper 60s, some places reaching 70, like Westminster, 67 Newport Beach, Mission Viejo, and San Clemente alike. We have 69 in Laguna Beach and Irvine. And finally, taking a look at our 5-day Fenestra forecast. Enjoy the weather today. Tomorrow, we begin to see that warming trend come in, 78 degrees and sunny tomorrow. On Thursday, once again, seeing that similar trend, 80 degrees and sunny. On Friday, we'll see a little bit of a break of the heat at 76 degrees. But again, there we go, the weekend, cranking up those temperatures once again, hitting 82 degrees. That's it for me in the weather department. I'm Luis Avila. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Luis. I'm Joshua Feiners, and coming up next, I'll have all things Chapman sports and an early in-season check-in on the Lakers. Stay tuned.
You are in the middle of a game. Adrenaline coursing through your body. And you are calling the shots. Feel the power as you control the game's narrative. From commentator to camera virtuoso, replay wizard to unyielding director. There is no better experience than being in the moment. Challenge your limits and embrace the electrifying rush that comes with the crowd's roar. You never know the epic plays you will capture and the masterpiece you could make. You could be an amateur learning on the fly or a pro wanting to expand your skills. You will always fit in. And what better place to broadcast your skills than in sports? Never knowing what is coming next and always coming across something new. Join the Chapman Sports Broadcasting Network and experience the thrill of life.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
The last time I played Frisbee was in middle school gym class. And trust me, I was no pro. But thousands of people gathered in Huntington Beach this weekend for the ultimate beach Frisbee showdown. Our Tess Martinelli has more about this unique event.
Huntington Beach's sun and surf attract millions of visitors each year. But this weekend, the sand was taken over by the 2023 USA Ultimate Beach Tournament. The 5-day event brought in teams from over 15 countries, all competing for the title in one of 5 divisions. Elliot Bonnet from Team France, who won the mixed division, said the team was only hoping to place top 4.
We don't know why we are world champion. It's awesome. So I don't realize right now, but it's awesome.
Later in the morning, the U.S. and Canada took to the sand to compete for the women's tournament victory. The players showed fierce skills with no shortage of dives and falls. The game was neck and neck, but ultimately the USA came out on top. Player Robin Fennig, who's been playing for Team USA since 2016, notes how impressed she was with the competition.
It feels really great to have had a really good game from Team Canada. We've been playing all week, and the conditions were pretty challenging today, and I think both teams made some really great adjustments so that we could bring our absolute best.
As the sport of ultimate frisbee grows, teams are preparing for even more competition in the following years. This is Tess Martinelli reporting for Chapman News.
Also in Huntington Beach, the 8th Annual International Surfing Association's World Para-Surfing Championship is taking place. This is the first time Surf City has hosted the event. Parasurfing is an adaptive way of surfing that allows people with physical disabilities to ride waves on boards or wake skis. The championship has already set an event record of 184 parasurfers from 27 countries. As the sport continues to grow, the ISA is hoping to get approved by the International Paralympic Committee before the end of this year for the 2028 Summer Paralympics in Los Angeles. The championship will run until Saturday, with Team USA looking to defend their title as Team World Champions and competing for the gold in 9 categories.
Speaking of exercise, which is something I don't say very often, our Panther football team are championship contenders.
Chapman News sports reporter Josh Feinhurst joins us now with that and more.
Thanks, Emily and Kate. Welcome back to the Best Campus Sports Show. The Lakers took on the Miami Heat last night on the road and lost by just 1 point, 108-107. The Lakers came back down 11 points entering the fourth quarter. Forward Cam Reddish missed a potential game-winning three-pointer. Anthony Davis left the game with muscle spasms in his hip during the third quarter. The leading scorers for the Lakers were LeBron James with 30 points and Austin Reeves with 23. The leading scorers for the Heat were Jimmy Butler with 28 points and Bam Adebayo with 22. Bam was also the first Heat player ever to record 20 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists in one game. The Lakers' record falls to 3-4, and they will play the Houston Rockets tomorrow on the road at 5 p.m., which Anthony Davis said in his post-game press conference he plans to play in. The Chargers took on the Jets last night in New Jersey, with this game having huge implications on the AFC playoff picture, with the Chargers on the outside looking in, and the Jets fighting for the last wildcard spot. The Chargers won by a score of 27-6. The stars of the game were Chargers running back Austin Eckler, who ran for 2 touchdowns, and Joey Bosa, who had 2.5 sacks. However, Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers teased a return post-game from his Achilles tear during a conversation with Chargers safety Derwin James. The Chargers play this Sunday at home against the Detroit Lions at 1 p.m. Chapman football had their senior night this past Saturday against Laverne. 27 total seniors were celebrated on the field. Chapman needed a win to clinch a berth in the SIAC championship game. Chapman ended up winning in dominating fashion by a score of 37-7. The stars of the game were quarterback Luke Peterman, who threw 3 touchdown passes, and wide receiver Amir Adams, who had 2 touchdown catches. Amir Adams was also named one of the SIAC Athletes of the Week after his amazing performance. Chapman will host Pomona Pitzer this Saturday in the championship game. Make sure to go to Wilson Field to show your support. The winter season for Chapman sports is just getting underway. Women's basketball had their first game yesterday on the road and have their first home game this Sunday versus La Sierra University at 4 p.m. The men's basketball team has their first.
so I didn't even know if I had it when I finished.
The team also broke the team record by 6 seconds with an average time of 26 minutes and 27 seconds. The Panthers competed in the SIAC Championships recently. The men's team placed 7th, led by Cooper, who placed 19th with a time of 25 minutes and 51 seconds. The cross-country team will compete next at the NCAA Division III West Regionals on Saturday. It looks like the shot clock is running out for this week's edition on the Best Campus Sports Show. Thank you for watching, and now passing it to Avery.
Thanks, Josh. I'm Avery Feldman, and coming up in entertainment, where have all the boy bands gone? Stay tuned for that right after the break.
What do we do? You may not be able to plan ahead for a ghost encounter.
Under the dining table now!
But you can plan ahead for natural disasters. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts.
Maybe it's the apocalypse.
Know your evacuation routes and decide on a safe emergency meeting location.
Here? I know. What a pick Orlando.
Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. So pass the Proton Pack to the next generation and visit ready.gov/plan to get started.
Boy bands have been a staple on the music scene for generations.
But what about now? Our Avery Feldman is live in studio to tell us more.
Thanks, Kate and Emily. Be ready to twist and shout at this news. Boy bands had it all: the vocals, dance moves, looks, and fans. Let's take a look.
Twist and shout, twist and shout. I want you back. Everybody wanna steal my girl. Everybody wanna take her heart away.
Over the past decade, boy bands have been on the decline. Bye, 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 as NSYNC would say. But where did they go, and who is taking their place? Hey Jude, let's start with one of the original boy bands, the ones that started it all, the Beatles. Some 60 years after they took the US by storm, the Beatles are still loved, with the compilation album One holding the record for the fastest selling album. 3.6 million copies sold on the first day it was released back in 2000. The song Can't Buy Me Love stayed #1 on top charts for 5 weeks straight back in 1964. According to SEMrush, the Beatles are the most visited boy band website in the past 4 years. And the Beatles just released a new song with the help of AI last week. They certainly set a high bar for all future boy bands. Yes, we all love the Beatles, but the most successful contemporary boy band is the Backstreet Boys, having sold 130 million records. Seemingly larger than life, the Backstreet Boys and other classic 90s bands have also split up. Why? Manager of the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and O-Town, the late Lou Pearlman, was accused of cheating the band members out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. They definitely did not want it that way. The R&B group Boyz II Men was the first boy band to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2012. Boyz II Men, Coldplay, and Green Day are all still together and play to this day, so no need to say goodbye yet. The boy bands fell off for a bit, but to our luck, made a strong comeback in the 2010s. One Direction's first US tour sold out in hours, and Harry Styles is the most popular boy band member searched in the past 3 years. The Jonas Brothers and The Wanted were even given TV shows. I wish that were the story of my life. These groups fell apart for a variety of reasons: mental health issues, members wanting to pursue their own solo careers, and social media speculations causing discomfort among members. These broken up bands are the end of an era, and the gap in boy bands in my music listening has been apparent. Currently, the popular boy band is BTS. BTS is the first ever K-pop group to top US charts. According to Vivid Seats ticket data, BTS has the highest priced average ticket for boy bands in the past decade. And lucky for us, California represents the top state of boy band music lovers. Although there is not as many boy bands today, and therefore not any new boy band songs, they made history and will always hold a special place in our hearts. Keep having high hopes for the future of boy bands. Maybe by the year 3000, they will gain their popularity back. I'm Avery Feldman for Chapman News.
Thanks, Avery. That's it for Chapman News this week. Be sure to check out our YouTube page at chapmannews.tv and make sure to follow us at Chapman News. I'm Emily Cho.
And I'm Kate Worsham. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week with more Chapman News.